Alright, round 2 now. So, I don't need this sketch anymore. I can delete it or just set it to guide. I'm probably going to want to delete it completely though, because I'm going to be sending this file to other scenes and wherever I need this character to show up. So, take a full look at our little Emma here. So there is one major thing I forgot to do. Grab all of these. We are at the top of the layer. And we are going to put her in a symbol. So M comp. There we go. So now, the great thing about this is I can send her to all sorts of weird, crazy shapes, and if I hit not Control Z, but Command Shift Z, it will reset her back to default. So when we draw her, we want to make sure that we are drawing her completely to sort of the size. We want to draw her at 100%. Maybe we scale her up for some scenes, maybe not. But again, this is because sometimes we're going to be doing weird things with arms to make them stretch, and we want to just be able to get them back to default. Alright, so one thing you notice, so this arm's kind of going behind the hair here. I think that looks okay-ish. M's hair sometimes go over top, but we do want to make sure that these are once again back on their own layers. Distribute to layers. Yay! So, now we've got our little Emma puppet here. So again, I can move this around. I can decide if maybe I want this over top of the head instead. Still works pretty okay. So the way I've designed this so that she doesn't have a waist, because that is advanced builds. I've really got to set flip horizontal back onto a hotkey. And yeah, like this I don't have to worry about if the hips are rotating or stuff. It's just a much simpler way to do legs. So if you're not so far in your project that you can redesign your character to not have a waist and just have these legs coming out of the shirt or whatever, do it! Alright, and now just go into this here, and again, cool thing about having this head sort of separated on its own, and I'm just going to files, save as, stage 2, and files, save as, build. There we go. I always want to have that default build to go back to so that I can import it into other scenes, and it will always be just a clean file to work with without any other animation that I have to delete. You can do turnarounds and stuff too. Like I could draw, like, this is sort of a 3/4 Emma. I could draw her profile and 3/4 back and completely front view, and have that sort of as a turnaround, and then I could swap symbols out. Usually you draw like, so this entire row would be the next turnaround, and this would be the next part of the turnaround. And then she can look around back and forth and stuff, but most things can be done in this weird 3/4 view. So I am going to just set a few animation frames so that we can see how all of this works for us. So specifically, I do not have keyframe alt layer set up, so I'm going to do this the old-fashioned way. Look, there's keyframes on everything. Actually, I want that a little later, further. So, oh, another important thing. Oh boy, let's get rid of all these frames. I forgot something very important. So see this here? Looping? No, I want this. Well, actually I want the head to be play once. I want everything else to be single frame. So the reason for this is actually I'll set this to loop just so you can see how unhelpful it is when you're doing some things. Let's say I want to have a bent arm. So on frame 2, delete that, I have this bent arm. Still the same hand. I should have zoomed in when drawing this arm so that I don't get the extra thick line, because I drew all my lines at 100%, so to get that same line quality I want to draw my other lines at the same. Anyways, so yeah, single frame. But the reason we don't want the head on a single frame is so that we can do things like, alright, I'll show you the painful way of doing it first. So this is currently set to loop. Yay! So she's talking. But really, she's literally running her mouth and not saying anything. So we're going to set that to single frame as well. 6. And we will have that at 4. And most lip sync can be done at 12 frames per second, or sort of every other frame if you've got it at 24 frames per second. But you can do it on ones as well. Obviously I'm not syncing to anything right now. Sometimes you might hold on to a mouth shape for a little bit. Alright, so there's the old-fashioned way of doing it. So she's opening and closing her mouth. And if I go out, because this is set to play once or loop, it'll now have her talking. And I can add other animation. So, to do this, so I'm just going to have her sort of shift her weight over. If you grab more than one thing, you can move this dot around without having to worry about resetting any of the anchor points. They have a proper name, I can never remember what it is. Anyways, just gonna do that. I hurt it a little bit too. So this is the less great way of doing it, just create motion tween. And why is that not working? Let's go create classic tween. There we are. I usually just use Tween's panel, so I'll show you how that works in a second. So now if I go like that, she just puts her arms up and does a little shift. And, most notably, her mouth is still talking. Yay! Which means that I don't have to individually select every single piece inside her face and move it and then worry that it's not going to rotate at the same speed as everything else, because it's all just composed together. I am making hand gestures you cannot see. It's all just composed together. And oops. There we go. Stop doing that. Okay. Now, I'll show you the superior, faster way of doing things. So if I go back into Emma here, I'm going to use my fancy super awesome little plugin here. This one's called Lipper. Another one is Keyframe Caddy. You can probably find them just by Googling. Note that if you are on, I think, CC or above, or anything that's on the Creative Cloud, you do need a slightly different kind of file. Like, they are available for the newer versions of Flash. I wish I could tell you more. I'd have to go and look up at the file extensions again. But in the meantime, so I've selected the mouth here. I hit this little plus. It's going to show me all of the different shapes that are in there. So now I'm also going to use just sort of the two, not the arrow keys. Next to the question mark, you've got the period key and the comma key. They have the little arrows on them. I can use those to flip between my frames. I'm just going to click on those. And add a bit more here. So she's just saying nonsense here. My teeth mouth may not be working the best. Let's color that in real fast. We're not going to start that in the time to not coloring all the teeth. I should have done that earlier. Anyways, she's now yapping along. I'm going to do this. So another thing you can do is sort of use the squash and stretch. Here's where that being able to move. This comes in handy. So she's just kind of doing this. Yay! Oh! I spend so much time just flipping between frames like this. It's silly. Alright. I want her to go down fast, but what are the legs doing? Ah! Well, it's because I moved the anchor point, so I'm going to double tap those to set them back, and now it's going to work properly. And notice this time to get my tween, I just hit up here. And so what that did is if I hit play, this one kind of goes at a consistent speed. This one starts fast and then slows down, so it decelerates into the motion, I guess you could say. And so it looks a lot nicer, a lot more natural. And one other thing that we can do, and then I want her to just sort of go back to her other default position here. Again, very silly little animation. And have it stick this in there. Okay. So something that happened here is you'll notice that this is set to 1. And here it's set to 31, which means that this key is now having it start at the start again because I dragged these frames over from the beginning to get back to my default pose. Which brings up another point. Have a copy of your default pose somewhere at the end of your timeline so that you can always go back to it and have everything all set up there, and you don't have to reposition all the arms if you want to get back to the default pose. Because hitting Control-Shift-Z it is going to send everything back to the default size, but not the original positions. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on the layer part here, right click, synchronize symbols. This is now frame 41. So it's all going to move perfectly according to how we want it. Yay! Okay. So, see this. I'm going to go back to one of my previous builds, and I'm going to bring it into a scene and show you how to keep everything organized like that. Maybe I'll add a bit of a rotation so that you can also see some more stuff, how that would work. Alright. Also, good to add incremental files so that if something goes terribly wrong, you can go back to an earlier version where the program hasn't gone and, you know, bin flash. Yeah.